Hello friends, today I take up a new topic and this topic is a part of the current affairs and the title of this topic is the role of National Commission for Women in India and in the development of women of India. Why I have taken this topic? Because you might be knowing that yesterday was 30th anniversary of National Commission for Women. In 1992, this commission was established for the purpose of solving the problems of women throughout India. In addition, different commission for women were established in different states of India also. So now I will restrict myself to the analysis of National Commission for Women. In short, it will be called NCW. So, what is its role in the development of women? For the last 30 years, we will analyze it. And now, my lesson plan includes why is it in the news? Number 1. Number 2, functions of NCW. Number 3, power of NCW. Number 4, shortcomings. Number 5, suggestion. Number 6, achievements. Number 7, status of women in India or in Indian society from the beginning and problems of women in India. Last but not the least, solution and way forward, and finally conclusion. So friends, I will cover this topic under these headings. I hope that you will very much cherish my lecture. If you like my lecture, please share and subscribe my channel AJIS Academy Indore. This is free channel, and just type AJIS Academy on YouTube. You will find numerous videos covering different kinds of topics meant for UPSC and state civil services examination and other competitive examination. So please take benefit out of my lecture. So friends, now let us start the proceedings. So first of all, why is it in the news? And I have already told you that yesterday it was 30th anniversary of NCW and Prime Minister highlighted the importance and its role and also exhorted the Commission to expand its role. Why? Because now the scope and role of Indian women are increasing by leaps and bounds. So what we see, since role of women in India is expanding, so NCW should also expand its role to address their grievances, their problems, and I will narrate one by one the problems faced by women of India. So PM also emphasized the need to shun women belong to kitchen mentality or ideology, that women should restrict themselves through the four walls of the houses and do only the household works, not go out to work in factories, in office work. So this kind of ghetto mentality must be shunned. Now in the 21st century, the role of women in India has been defined. She is working with men in every field of activities, and now even the military has been opened up for their recruitment and employment. So what we see, that women are reaching top position in every field of activities. There is no scope for discrimination for women, and now they are able to work as entrepreneurs, businesswomen, and do the startup business. And so Make in India is doing the same thing to make a woman self-reliant, that government is bent upon women's education and empowerment. PM also apprised that sex ratio has become better in comparison to the past, and the school dropout ratio has also very much dropped or come down significantly. Government raised the marriageable age of women at 21 years. Now Parliament has to pass it, and then it will become law once green signal is given by select committee. So what you see, that the marriage should not be a stumbling block for the education, for the development of personalities of women. And next, women are getting maximum maternity benefit in India if we compare with the world. And so several fast track courts have been established in India to give or to deliver quick justice. And similarly, new laws have been passed to save our women from harassment and cruelty. We will discuss it one by one. So now let us switch off to another point. Now what we see by this data, that 65.46% of the women are literate as compared to 82.14% men. This is the data given by Census 2011. Friends, as you know that census was scheduled to be conducted in 2021 in India. Every 10 year census is conducted, but because of the pandemic corona, the census could not be conducted. So we are giving the data of 2011 census, and what we see that according to 2011 census, enrollment of girls in primary education, now it is 74.6%. Women are not enrolled in higher education. So what you see, that there is a very much gap when we compare with the countries of Southeast Asia. The enrollment of women in the higher education is much larger than that of India. We will have to do more things on this field. Similarly, what you see, that child sex ratio is 919 for every 1,000 boys. Similarly, the population of women are in the workforce is 27.4%. What we see, that if we compare with China and South Korea, what we find, in South Korea, the female participation in workforce is 50%. In China, it is 45%, whereas in our country, it is just 27.4% female participation in workforce. We will have to increase this level if you want to achieve our country a great power status in your future. If you want to reap the maximum demographic dividend, so we'll have to enhance the female participation in the workforce to the tune of 40 to 45%. Next disturbing data available for us is that women hold only 11% of seats in Lok Sabha, but 46% in Panchayati Raj institutions. Friends, as you know that this data, 11% seat in Lok Sabha, is very much minimum. Unsatisfactory. Even the percentage of women representation in Pakistani parliament is far bigger than that of India. But it is heartening to note that the female participation in Panchayati Raj system now has gone up to 46%, and this happened because certain states even reserve half of the seat for women. In general, 1/3 seats are to be reserved for women representation, but states like Bihar reserve half of the seats in Panchayati Raj government for women, and this resulted in the increase in the share of women representation to the tune of 46% in Panchayati Raj institutions. So now we switch over to function of NCW. Friends, as you know, what are the functions that has been assigned to NCW? Number one, a structure. NCW has one chairperson, 5 members and 1 member secretary. This is the structure of NCW. Now its function are: number one, inquiry and investigation, and this means that NCW inquire into any harassment or excess committed against women throughout India, throughout the territory of India, and then it submit its report to the government. Similarly, it is empowered to investigate a case, and in addition, it has also the power to research, to do research. NCW is required to review the safeguard provided to women. Similarly, it recommends and the amendment to meet any inadequacies or shortcomings. And finally, it suggests measures for more effective implementation. Now, under legal intervention, it has also power to intervene legally. It has also power to present reports. It reviews the progress made by different agencies pertaining to women excesses. Similarly, taking of cases of violation against women and suo motu notice in the matter to women's rights can also be taken by NCW. Promotional research, it has also the power to conduct research and then submit its report to the government for its implementation. Participation in planning, and then it has also the right to evaluate how far the progress or the development of women have taken place. This evaluation report is also prepared by NCW. And then inspection. NCW has power to inspect on the spot, to conduct the primary inquiry as to the excesses or harassment committed against women. And similarly, funding and reporting. Funding, it also prepares how to get funds, how to manage funds, and similarly, it has also power to report of any incident and then submit its report to government for its implementation. So what we see? Now we switch over to power of NCW. What are the powers that has been assigned to NCW? Number one, under section 10(4), NCW is authorized to work as civil court. Like civil court, it can summon, it can issue warrant for attendance of witnesses. It can require the discovery and production of any document, receive evidence on affidavit, and requisition any public record from court or public functionaries, issuing notice to the examination of witnesses and documents. And in addition, under section 16, central government shall consult the commission on important measures or policy matters pertaining to women. What are the shortcomings in its structure and its functions? Number one, the commission is dependent on the grant from the union government, because it is very much dependent on central government as far as financial allocations are concerned. Number two, it has become the victim of bureaucratization. It has less autonomy, functional autonomy. Why? Because all the members are appointed or nominated by central government in power. So it doesn't have the power to select its all members. Moreover, for field duties, it has to depend upon other agencies. And so these agencies are hired temporarily to support NCW. So it takes up the women's cause when it is brought to light. Unreported cases of oppression and suppression of women are not attended to because of the lack of awareness of women in rural areas. The work of NCW has not penetrated deep into the heart of rural India. And you might be knowing that our country is having large number of, even 70% of villages. Villagers are living in the villages, and so NCW is still functioning as an urban body. Why? Because of the lack of awareness among the women of rural areas. Complaints or inquiry are not being conducted or addressed by the NCW. So what you see, that commission does not have a field staff, I have already told you, and it mainly depends upon the consultation and expert in the various areas taken on a temporary basis. Suggestions. What are our suggestions for the improvement of the working of NCW? Number one, it must be granted the power to select its own members. Number two, more autonomy should be given. Number three, more financial allocation has to be provided. Number four, compliance of the recommendation of NCW by central and state government should take place on priority basis. What are the achievements of NCW since its inception in 1992? So what you see, Commission took the issue of reservation of seats for women in Parliament or Legislative Assembly, and as you know that because of the opposition of certain parties which wanted reservation of certain caste, so that reservation for women in Parliament or state legislative assemblies have not been passed yet. Number two, various studies have been undertaken to highlight the issue of migrant women, Muslim women, prostitutions, child abuse issues, trafficking, child sex abuse, women in the unorganized sector, and women prisoners, women of the Northeast. These issues have been very much studied by NCW, and these reports have been submitted to the Government of India for implementation. Commission also tried to review, investigate and examine government policy at different levels. Though with limited success, it tried to establish link with regional, state level and international bodies working for the advancement of women. Status of women in the Indian society. Now we are switching over to the status of women prevailing in our country in the different phase of our history. So I have categorized into three parts, like ancient, medieval and British period, and then after independence. So what we see, that the status of women in Vedic and later Vedic period. Now we see that women enjoyed more power. They enjoyed parity with men. Yagyopavi Sanskar, where also they have to go through Yagyopavi Sanskar similar to boys. Similarly, widows were permitted to remarry. They enjoyed the freedom to select their mates, and so swambars were organized to choose the favorable mates. Child marriage was unknown. Girls married only after getting puberty. Now, what we see in medieval period, because of the certain development, I mean the adverse development, the position of women deteriorated. What were those factors? Number one, position deteriorated because of the practice of child marriage. Number two, provision of widow remarriage. Number three, the practice of sati. Number four, parda system. Number five, devdasi system in South India. Poor social status for Muslim in women. These obnoxious practices occurred because of the Muslim entry into India, and since 11th century, 12th century onward, India became the victim of numerous Muslim invaders in our country, and so it resulted into the parda system, and on account of this system, women cannot go out of the four walls of their house. And similarly, devdasi system prevailed in South India, where a girl was married to a god and she lived in the temple premises lifelong. And so the poor status for Muslim women also prevailed, because Muslim kings, zamindars, talukdars, jagirdars married so many women, and so they kept large number of women in their harem. So what you see, that there was continuous decline of status of women during medieval period. But after the advent of Bhakti movement launched by Kabir, Ramanand, Nanak, Tulsidas, Mirabai, Ras Khan, Surdas, all these Bhakti leaders, they tried to loosen the grip of caste system. Number one, they tried to give power to women. Now they can be educated, they can go outside to work. So although the reform regarding the position of women was not too much, but something better had been done by the leaders of Bhakti movement. Now during the British period, friends, as you know, that in its initial phase of its rule over India, British deliberately adopted the policy of non-interference in matters related to social and religious affairs of Indians. But after 1813, British opened its economy for other merchants also, and it also gave entry to missionaries into India, and now it adopted a policy of interference in social and religious matters of Indians. So what we see in 1829, at the initiative of Raja Ram Mohan Rai, the Sati system was abolished. When Lord William Bentinck, Governor General of India. Similarly, the Special Marriage Act 1872 was passed. Widow Remarriage Act was passed at the initiative of Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar. Married Women's Property Act 1874, Hindu Women Right to Property Act 1939. All these acts were passed, and in 1891 the age of consent was passed, by which the marriageable age of girl was increased from 10 to 12 years. So by these new laws, by these legal reforms, the Hindu society, I mean Indian society, was very much tried its level best to improve the condition of women. So the social and religious movement started after 1850 in the second half of the 19th century, and its leader like Ram Mohan Rai, Swami Vivekanand, Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar, Dayanand Saraswati, and in 20th century Mahatma Gandhi, all these leaders tried its level best to improve the condition of women. They criticized polygamy, polyandry in the society. They wanted equal status and equal rights for men and women. Now, after independence, Government of India launched a vigorous policy whereby it wanted to establish a society where men and women have equal power. Our constitution under Article 14, 15, 16 give equal rights to women. Moreover, it also talks about positive discrimination in favor of women and children, because they are vulnerable, and so a special protection is required for women and children. So what we see, that many laws have been passed in India after independence relating to marriage, divorce, dowry, deaths, compensation to women, maternity benefits, equal remuneration, share of property to women by the Hindu Succession Act 1956. All these measures were adopted to give improved position to women. In 1983, Criminal Amendment Act was passed whereby in matters related to dowry, death or rape, the burden of proof was thrust upon accused so that the conviction rate should increase. So all these measures were done, adopted by the government of India in different states to ameliorate the condition of women. What are the problems of women of India? Number one, violence against women. Number two, exploitation and harassment of women. Number three, decline in the female population. Number four, female children a victim of discrimination. Health problem of women. And according to one survey, it has been found that more than 30% of our women are suffering from anemia. They do not give importance to their health problem. Similarly, increasing dropouts of female children, lower female participation in the workforce, and I have already told you that in our country 27% female are in our workforce, while in South Korea it is 50%, in China it is 45%. So what you see that female participation in workforce is still very low. Similarly, continued domination of male in the society. And similarly, what you see, lower participation of women in parliament and state assembly, and I have already narrated you that only 11% female are members of our parliament, and this data is very much less if we compare even a backward country like Pakistan or Bangladesh. So depression is very much prevalent in women, and it is twice than in men. This results into commission of suicides. And in 2014, what we see that 20,000 women committed suicide. It was these incidents were more than the suicide by farmers in India. So what you see that women are very much emotionally vulnerable than men. Majority of women are illiterate and unskilled. All these factors are causing lowering of their status in the society. So what we have to do? What are the solutions for the betterment of women in India? Number one, empowerment of women. What do you mean by empowerment? Empowerment is a condition where a woman has right to decide for herself. No other should be entrusted to decide about her life, her education, her goal in the life. So she should command herself, and she should have ample access to education, employment, health facilities. This will be the empowerment of women. Next, increasing female participation in the workforce is sine qua non if you want to reap the demographic dividends for the next 40 years. And now the present data of 27% has to be increased to 45 to 50%. Vocational training is a must for women. If we compare with China, the skilled woman power is very much less in our country. So what is the need of the hour is to increase the level of vocational training among women. And similarly, raising the literacy of women in comparison to men. The literacy rate among women is still very much low. And when we bifurcate among the different strata of society, like tribals or scheduled caste, what we find that the level of literacy is very much low. According to 2011 census data, 64% women were literate. Now, if we bifurcate these women into scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, backward classes, general categories, what we find that the level of literacy is very much low in tribals, very much low in scheduled caste population, or particularly the women. So what we have to do? We have to increase their level of literacy. Improving health of women is another important condition for the betterment of the women in India. Why I am telling this? Because according to one survey, it was found that 30 to 35% women are suffering from different kind of gynecological diseases or anemia. They are not getting balanced diet. So health of women must be improved, and that's why Government of India is very much now focused upon raising the health sector, particularly after the spread of pandemic corona. Now, strict action against those who perpetuate atrocities against women. Friends, as you know, that the incident of Hyderabad, incident of Hathras and different places where women were tortured to death, raped to death. These incidents should not occur in our country. There must be an effective deterrent effect by way of quick judgment, and our judiciary is doing excellent job on this front by delivering quick judgment on these perpetrators. Increasing political participation of women, and I have already discussed it by data that our parliament has only 11% female participation. We have to increase this political participation at higher level, at lower level, at Gram Panchayat level or Panchayati Raj level, municipal level, because of the 73rd and 74th amendment of the Constitution. Now the political participation of women in these bodies have increased to the level of 46%, and this is a big achievement of our democracy. It means that our grassroots democracy has become very much mature and strengthened. But at the higher level, at the level of legislative assemblies and parliament, what we see that the ratio of female leaders are very much less than male. So we have to reverse this trend. At least 1/3 females should get elected in parliament and state assemblies. Now, friends, what conclusion we have drawn from this lecture? Number one, no society can develop without the development of women. In the Western country, what you see, that male and female both work together, and that's why their standard of living, the per capita income is very much high. Similarly, we'll have to do more and more things to better the condition of our women. All efforts should be made to address the anomalies that hinders the progress of women. And I have already narrated you how the violence against women is taking place in different parts of the country. Harassment, cruelty by in-laws, rape, physical torture are taking place with impunity. Although this degree of harassment is different in different category of people. For example, women in South India mobilize more power than the women of North India. Similarly, tribal women, although they are illiterate in large numbers, but because of their societal structure, tribal women mobilize more power than their counterparts in high caste Hindus of North India. So, what we see that NCW should more vigorously work for the physical and mental health of women in India. And I have already discussed about it, how much women are suffering from depression, mental problems, mental agony, distress. And on this front, more step has to be taken by NCW. They should visit regularly the mental asylums situated in different parts of country and give recommendation. Similarly, it should give more stress upon field inspection to ascertain the different problems faced by women in India, particularly in urban and rural areas. Similarly, NCW should also focus upon making aware by launching awareness program in rural areas, so that the women in rural areas should know their rights, their legal rights. They should lodge complaint against their in-laws, against the attackers. So what we see, that they should also be made aware of their biological needs, biological problems, and so that they must become aware about their health problems. If they become healthy, only then they can contribute in the economy of the country. So, friends, if you like my lecture, please share and subscribe. Tell your friend that this is a free channel. And if you like my channel, please write down AJIS Academy on YouTube and open the playlist, subscribe it, and you will find numerous videos pertaining to different topics. Thank you very much.